chocolate is honestly my favourite thing.
I don't trust mint chocolate. My goodness, no.
Do you like orange chocolate?
I don't like any chocolate with anything that's not chocolate in it.
There's new Oreos with mint and orange. Why would you want that? Although I did have a mint Oreo yesterday and it was amazing.
No, not for me. Sorry, not for me. I like my chocolate nice, simple, okay? How God imagined chocolate to be. Thank you.
Okay. Right. Succession, episode 6. This episode was called Going for What It Takes. What do you think the meaning is behind that?
Going for what it takes, that must be some kind of reference to the presidential theme of this episode, you know, and they're looking for someone that's got what it takes. But going for what it takes, maybe that's in reference to the fact that there are a few people vying for it. So it's like rather than got what it takes, they're going for what it takes. I'm just talking out my ass right now, but
Yeah.
there you go.
Well, this was my most focused watching experience with this episode because my mum had the kids and I was on my own. So I really focused.
Did you find was it an easing, engaging focus for you?
No, actually.
Yeah.
I did. I think it was an incredible episode. I thought it was so well written.
Yes.
I thought it was quite exposing of Logan and really enjoyable for some of the Roman scenes, which we've been waiting for. I think actually probably the best yet, the Roman.
Yes, but I will say, and you know that I've been waiting for a Roman scene as much as the next girl, but I found the Roman scene with the presidential candidate Menken, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
I found it was almost like they were speaking in poetry.
Yeah.
I found it slightly difficult to follow, and I had to pause at certain points, mostly to take notes, but also sometimes with this episode it was so densely packed. It was amazing. And
Yeah,
that's
I had to rewind a few times.
But that's what's so great about the show, because every episode just completely comes from a different angle.
Yeah.
You don't know what to expect.
No, and that starts with they do a recap immediately, and we have I thought the main things to pick up from the recap that they showed were stop buzzing in my ear,
Yeah.
wrote Logan to Shiv, and him blocking Kendall's number.
Yes.
And then straight into titles.
I know, that was very strange. I thought you were going to pick up on that. I thought, is it a longer episode or something today? Like, why are they going
I think
straight
it was
to the
long.
titles?
It was long.
But I think it's because they didn't want to break the tension.
How
They-
many minutes was it?
I mean-
57. Oh, it's actually shorter than last week.
It was, honestly, it felt longer because it was so densely packed. But I think part of the reason why they started with the title sequence is because they just wanted to keep that tension all the way through.
Yes.
This wasn't a comedy episode.
No,
this
no,
was
no.
an action episode.
It was. And yeah, actually, very little funny.
Very little fun.
So we open with Kendall having a mock trial with his lawyer, and he's being cocky as usual, and he says, "Oh yeah, no, I love sexual assault." And I'm sorry about my accents. I'm just gonna put that out there. I have now said to my agent, full stop, I don't do accents. In the hope that I never get put up for another job with an accent.
It is so degrading, isn't it?
It's just
is.
I can't do them. There's just no point. Anyway, yeah. So what I found really interesting about this scene is it's setting up the lawyer, Kendall's lawyer, Lisa, and she basically is trying to almost soothe Kendall, and because she knows he's like a rocket, he's a live wire, he could go off any second. And so she says, I just think that the papers that you said that were going to be there, I think they lacked explosiveness. And he gets so upset, and it sets up a scene for later. I dislike Kendall so much. Do you?
Yes, I think that what they do so well is that they're able to weave his character in and out of likability. At one moment, he seems like this fragile little boy who has been cast aside by the family, and you almost want him to win because he's the comeback kid, because he's the sort of the dark horse. But then at the same breath, they're able to make him look like this pompous, out of touch, fucking idiot.
Child.
And he says something to Lisa, and she has to respond by saying, I don't take requests, I'm not a DJ. She comes across as so powerful and looks down on him, because when he then eventually does have the actual meeting with the DOJ, he fucks it so badly. And you just see the way that she looks at him.
I know, let's save that. But he ends that little first scene by condescendingly saying to Lisa, let's try harder.
Yeah,
let's try harder.
He says, hey, paper people, to the room of people that are sorting through these papers that he's basically been backing his whole case on. And the fact that he just he's basically let everyone down. I mean, I was shocked when she said about the fact that the papers weren't explosive. It's such a damp squib, you know?
Yeah, but that's almost, this episode shows, in the last few, we've been building up to the feeling that the world is about to collapse for the Roys, and they're about to be destroyed, humiliated, exiled. And so the lack of explosiveness, and then actually this episode really shows Logan coming back and being really strong.
Yeah.
And this scene follows on with Shiv and Roman talking about, I think her name is Sherry, not Kerry, but then it wouldn't be Sherry and Carrie.
No, it was definitely Carrie. I don't think it's Sherry.
Well,
I've not heard of Soft Age.
Okay, well, Logan's assistant, who we predicted in the last podcast that is going to suck his
knew
dick.
It.
Yeah.
We even said blowjob. We said specifically
Blowjob. And then Shiv and we see him showing memes to Carrie. But it wouldn't be Kerry and Carrie. What am I talking about?
Who the fuck is Kerry?
Kerry. Who? Jerry.
Jerry, you silly bitch.
Sorry, my memory is going.
So Roman and Shiv are debating on the private jet what Carrie and Logan's relationship is. Shiv says Logan wouldn't do that. He hates a close contact bang, which I thought was quite funny. And Roman thinks that they are actually fucking.
Yeah. And Roman says, he's still really into blowjobs. And you can just see that. That is happening. That is absolutely happening.
In a way, it's actually clever because considering that this episode is where we really see the comeback of Logan's power, like the figurehead that he was and used to be, the fact that he's also now this sort of sexually viable man with like a big puffed out chest and an attractive woman giving
And a button-down
jokes.
shirt most of the time.
Exactly. He seems really in control and really, really powerful compared to Kendall, who seems like this flailing little boy.
Yeah, but it also shows that, it's a tale as old time that as you get more powerful, you also get more sexy.
Yeah.
And the young women and the need to have your ego, fanned constantly by younger women who suddenly have voices that we haven't heard before. And that's weird. I really found that even though we'd really barely heard her speak, Carrie. Oh God. Carrie suddenly has she has about 4 lines.
Totally. And also what I thought was really interesting is given that the big crisis or scandal that they're facing is about young women being taken advantage of sexually.
Yeah.
The fact that we are seeing this crazy age gap sexual relationship taking place, and yet I'm buying it. Do you know what I mean? I see that Carrie fancies him.
Yeah.
I fancy Logan.
I fancy Logan.
We would suck his
dick.
dick.
So did we just say about showing the meme?
No, so we just mentioned that the fight the thing started because Logan was showing her a meme.
Yeah,
but we didn't get to
and then Roman ends up by saying, oh no, I think he still wants he's still having his dick sucked. And then Logan calls Roman over, not Shiv, shows him the meme, and then when they get off the jet, Shiv says, like very upright in her very upright walk, says, can I hop in with you, Dad? And Logan just dismisses her by being like, oh, okay, Pinky.
Yeah.
He's being a bit more exaggerated and goofy.
Yes.
It's like he's coming back to life.
Yes, but in a way, it's like, how on TV they always show when a character has had sex that they're always really, really bouncy. Exactly. So he's got this sort of spring in his step, like he's been revitalized. I mean, Marsha, of course, has not been mentioned and is not seen. And in a way, we don't even feel bad about the fact that he's clearly cheating on Marsha.
No.
Because you just don't sympathise with Marsha because she's not there.
Yeah.
You believe that Logan is right in whatever he's doing because you're seeing sexy Carrie sitting in the back, laughing at Logan's jokes. And I think Shiv brings up the fact that Logan humiliated her. And he says, oh, what? Do you want a fucking medal?
My fucking ear. And no. Shiv says, look, don't give Roman this opportunity. He fucked it up with the president.
Yeah.
I'm the only one doing my job and fighting for us. And Logan really fucking annoyingly turns around Sherry. Oh, Sherry, here, Shiv wants a fucking medal. And Sherry does her laugh.
She laughs really confidently. I don't like her.
Because she feels like she's going to be the next wife.
Yeah, with her sexy little fringe.
But who
what, are you hiding under their secrets?
Who is Shiv talking about when she says nothing is more dangerous than a second-rate individual seizing his chance?
She's talking about the potential options for president, and about the fact that they're going to this big secret presidential picking out session.
Well,
and that
the
there are going
Future
to be
Freedom Summit.
Yes, the Future Freedom Summit. Shiv obviously believes that she's a liberal at heart and was previously working as a political consultant for Democrats. So she's just sort of warning Logan, because she believes that she has real expertise in this area, that there are going to be people swarming around him with stupid ideas, and let none of them think that they are more powerful than they are. That's what she's referring to. Who does she call Dr. Honk?
I don't know, but there are some amazing lines in the first scene at the Future Freedom Summit.
Oh my god! About the line about fucking Hamilton.
Yeah. You don't have to pretend you liked Hamilton, Greg.
No, like this is the place.
I did like Hamilton.
This is the place where we don't have to pretend that we like Hamilton. I did like Hamilton. Yeah, sure, we all did. Oh my god, that fucking is so funny.
It opens with Connor and his girlfriend. I don't remember her name ever.
We're never going to remember Connor's girlfriend's name.
And somebody asked them, how did you meet? And they both go, online.
And so we see the conference starting off. The Roys are sort of standing on a bit of like an upper balcony, and they're looking down at this throng of like, you know, sweaty white men who are all vying for it. And then the guy from Dodgeball,
yes, who's always plays the creepy, powerful guy.
Yeah. But he's such a fucking good actor.
No, yeah, he is. He's so creepy though. That's why he's so good. Yeah.
So he's talking to all of these candidates or whatever the fuck it is. Like I know anything about politics, but and the Roys are sort of discussing what's going on, and Shiv is sort of trying to act superior, like she doesn't really want to be here because these guys are all far right extremists or whatever. And then
she says, "Welcome to Clown Town."
Yeah. And then Gregg says, "Some guy with an undercut just called me soy boy." And Shiv says that it's Berlin bunker vibes, so she's sort of really feeling anxious about this atmosphere. But Tom seems to be loving it.
Yeah,
like he's soaking up the vibes.
But they also they pick out is it the president or the vice president?
No, they're picking out
no who the president who they bitch about. He always has wet lips.
Oh yeah,
the guy,
is
it David?
Isn't his name Borgor or something?
No. The guy who is the president right now, who says he really wants to talk to Logan about tech. Is that the president or the vice president?
Vice president.
Okay, cool. So they basically, the vice president dots in and out and is almost there to show Logan's rise in stature at the moment. And this poor guy knows he's on the way out. The president's aide is trying to say, no, he should be the next president. That would make most sense for us. You guys have ruined us. He should be the next president. And they all kind of like almost pick on him and bully him and say from a distance, you know, he doesn't have wet lips. And then they show a shot of him licking his lips. And it's just a bit like, oh, poor guy.
But he's the safe option, because what they're there to do essentially, the Roys and ATN, they are picking who the next president is going to be, who they're going to back, because they, at this point, are still with the Republican Party.
And they have that power to make or break a president, which they've just shown.
Absolutely, through the coverage, exactly. And they're also now going to take an anti-tech standpoint, which is kind of interesting because of the backlash of them sort of going after the last president, who's now going to resign.
And the vice president is saying, I really want to talk to you about tech.
And he seemingly is going to be the biggest pushover, but Logan doesn't respect him.
No. And that, we'll get to that scene in a minute. But also Roman gets attacked. Roman speaks to somebody and says, oh, congratulations. And shows him that Roman doesn't understand. And it becomes clear that his English mum is getting married and they have no idea. So that's a little subplot running through, which is really funny because that mum character is so great.
Oh, she's going to come back.
Can't wait for her to come back.
I can't wait for her episode.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
It's going to be great. I reckon they're going to have a London episode. I think they did, actually. They filmed in London.
Yeah. That actress is called Harriet.
Yeah, she's fucking great.
She's fantastic. Also, the creepy guy from Dodgeball says, I believe that the next president of the United States is standing in this room. And then Connor says, he is, and he's hard as a rock.
I know!
You're going to love
Connor's
that.
lines!
Connor was really weirdly charismatic in this episode.
No, but then, his downfall at the end, I just found this, right at the end, I felt so sorry for him.
God, yeah, he's such a fucking idiot,
Oh my gosh, yeah, that scene hasn't come up yet, but... So we know Mummy's getting married, and that's a little thing they drop in. And then we have Gregg. Basically, it's so tragic. He says to Tom, I can't, I'm not going to try to do the accent.
No, please do.
I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop thinking about going to jail. And then Tom tragically says, the trick is to never not think about it, and then in the moments that you're not thinking about it are like a relief, and that's exactly what we
you have
feel
less
the
of an
entire time.
icy grip on your innards.
Yes, that's it. That's what I said. The icy grip on my innards. It's like someone's loosened the icy grip on my innards.
It's so interesting the way that they dotted the Tom sort of prison threat. So they weaved it in and out of this episode. It kind of reflects what he's talking about, the fact that you can never quite forget.
Well, the next scene is just, I think, probably on top, like on a level with the scene with Greg and Tom in the office where they talk about prison wine for the first time. So I think this next scene with Shiv and Tom, they must be upstairs in the hotel room, and he's...
Wait, but before we get to that, the Shiv and Tom scene, just to finish the roundup of the, what was it called? The
Future Freedom Summit.
The Future Freedom Summit, which then does continue on later on into the episode. But at this particular moment, we have the creepy conversation between Connor's girlfriend.
Is that in there? I thought that was later. No, that is later.
Is that later?
Yeah, it's after the Tom scene.
Okay, fine. But then the last thing was that Shiv and Roman call up Kendall to tell him about
Mummy's getting married.
And I just found it really funny because Roman says, hey, did you hear? New dad just dropped.
Yeah.
And then he says that... he's not surprised that Kendall doesn't know because their mum has always found him really boring.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really interesting.
I know. Kendall's just really not liked
He's not
by
liked
anyone
at all.
Yeah, but he does it to himself.
Anyway.
But then we open with Tom trying to... these are from our vineyard. Oh my gosh. And then there's like a dual dialogue between Shiv and Tom. Tom is solely talking about wine and, you know, how it's earthy. Oh, and he gives Shiv a glass. He must have bought a vineyard or something.
They clearly bought a vineyard together, and this is the first taste
wine
that they're having.
And it's gross.
Well, I mean, especially when you consider that a few episodes ago, they were talking about how much they share a love for that first sip of cold white wine.
No, he's saying how much he loves that.
I know, but
I love it when we do that. Yeah.
But if you think about maybe the wine represents their love, their relationship. At one point, it was something that they both could look forward to, this crisp sweetness that they can enjoy together after a long, hard day. And now they're tasting this sour, disgusting, shitty thing that they have grown themselves. That's what their relationship has turned into.
Well, exactly. And Shiv is sitting there on her laptop, busy, and Tom keeps cutting in with, well, you know, it's earthy. It's there's lots to unpack. It's not floral. As she's like talking about president stuff.
She's just watching the news on her iPad.
And then he says something like, you know, I just something about prison, and she cuts him off and says, Tom, stop talking about it. Stop talking about it.
You could really sense the pain in her voice, but it was so cruel.
I know.
It was so unkind.
He says the food in jail is bland. And she says, stop obsessing, you know. And then then she feels bad. And I thought it was really telling that she then thinks, okay, I've just been mean, I'm going to try. I thought she was actually trying. She then gets on his lap and starts unbuttoning his shirt, and you think they're going to fuck, and then he's like, no, there's no point. There's no point. There's no point. Only so much cake batter you can.
He says you're still on contraception.
Yeah, there's only so much cake batter you can throw at a big brick wall.
It was such a heartbreaking scene because of the fact that you're right, they're having this dual dialogue. She won't look up from her iPad. No. She's so focused on what she's doing, but she's also actively ignoring what he's saying. He's drifting in and out of like this dreamy, half prison mind, half sour wine mind. And it's her voice, it's her looking up and saying, stop obsessing over this, that like cuts that sort of.
But why won't she just say, I don't want you to go to prison?
It's just so
I'll try
cruel.
and help you. And I think in the last few episodes, as this prison thing has been building up, I definitely haven't really thought of it as a reality. And I think maybe she is just choosing to ignore it, but it becomes clear in this episode that, oh no, he is the guy that people are saying is called the Christmas tree.
Yes.
He is going to prison.
Yes,
people are going to hang all of it on them. And then with Greg later.
Exactly. But I just thought that his sort of mistiness in this scene, compared with her quite like chillingly brutal intercut, it just shows, like the wine that has turned sour, the way that their relationship is now. It's too far gone.
It's died in a way. And then we go back to the Future Freedom Summit, and Connor's girlfriend is getting kind of. I didn't realize. Actually, I first of all thought it's Connor, the creepy guy, and what's her name? Something.
Carrie? No,
it's not.
Shit. Sorry.
Anyway, Connor's mistress.
Yeah.
And he's
Natalie?
basically saying, you should come to my place, and we should have a great time. And she's rather embarrassingly talking about being a playwright and I'm just never going to be a commercial playwright, and maybe that's okay. And Connor is really getting on board with the fact that he's getting some attention from this guy, and then he goes, I'm going to top you up, or I'm going to rehydrate this gorgeous creature. And then she's like, can you please save me from Larry the Lech?
Yeah.
And Connor basically tries to prostitute her out.
He says that, it's fine to show a bit of leg, the collective leg.
Yeah, I wrote that down too.
I thought that was a really interesting scene to show her having like a tiny bit of agency, but ultimately still coming across as like just this, like prized pet really of the Roys. Like she kind of, the reason why she seems like such a sad character, so weighed down by something, is because she probably realizes that she's fucking attached herself to a loser.
Yeah.
Every time she looks at him, I just think, oh my God, it must be such a chore to have to fuck him.
He's bouncy in this scene. Like he thinks he's going to be the next president. He really truly believes that. And then is it the next scene with Roman, who's with
it's
Menken?
the super weirdly sexy vibe between...
No, that isn't yet. That's not yet. He first of all has a little scene at the bar with him.
Yes, exactly.
And the guy says, do you know who's taking over? And
he's so cheeky.
He's so cheeky. And Roman kind of tries to just be like, well, no, and
Menken. That's even a little cheeky name, isn't it?
I've always really liked him. I don't know what the fuck I've seen him in, but he's always been kind of sexy and weird.
He's like kind of sexy and little in the way
he's
that...
not little.
No, but like, he has like a sprightliness in the way that...
I don't mean Roman.
No, I know, but I'm talking about...
Menken.
I'm talking about Menken has a sort of sexy sprightliness in a way that Roman also has a sexy sprightliness.
He's like a tall version of Roman.
He's like a tall, older version of Roman.
More powerful version of Roman.
Exactly. And
with stronger opinions.
Exactly. And he doesn't seem afraid to talk to a Roy.
No.
In a kind of rude way.
No.
And that's what gets Roman super hard.
Oh, yeah. But then we go back to Tom in bed. Mm-hmm. And you think, he's going to, have this moment. But no, he gets a call from Gregg.
No, he calls Gregg, who's also lying awake.
Oh, he calls Gregg.
Yeah.
Oh, and then they meet at the diner.
And they have the practice diner food.
The prison food training, where they're trying to eat the blandest food possible because he says that something
he's building up his tolerance like he's in training.
Yes. And he's been reading prison blogs.
Yeah. Oh my God, and he says about the omelette that you have to start your way on the outside and work your way into the middle like Afghanistan. It's
yes.
It's absolutely mental. I mean,
this is 30 to 50% of taste.
Yeah.
This will be 30 to 50% better than prison. So we've got to remember that. The food in prison will be like a camel's labia.
But also Gregg asks Tom, since he is already being called the Christmas tree, people are hanging off all of the bad things onto him like ornaments, would Tom consider doing that favour for Gregg?
Oh my God, it's awful.
And Tom accepts.
No, but before that, he says to Tom, how do you live like this? And Tom says, they can't get you if you don't have hope.
Yes.
Which is how I live my life. And he says, I haven't slept properly in 8 days. And he says that he knows that he's a tree that people are using as a branch. And then Gregg cheekily says, can I hop onto one of your branches?
Exactly.
Fuck.
Gregg is kind of like, Gregg in this season, his power dynamics have just gone up and down, up and down. He thinks that he's going to get his trust fund, it's been taken away. He's going to sue Greenpeace, he's not going to sue Greenpeace. And now he suddenly has gone from potentially getting a huge promotion at Waystar and being Kendall's best friend to having none of that and now going to prison.
Yes, because we forgot to say in the first scene, at the end of the scene with Kendall in the practice trial, mock trial thing, he gets a text from Gregg
about
any update on the burning, which we had in the last episode. But yeah, Tom then looks at him and says, load me up, you piece of shit.
Yes. But
then Gregg crunches into a really dry, crunchy chip.
Oh God, and it looked so gross and off, didn't it, that little chip? I think that Tom, he obviously comes across as so sort of beaten down in this scene, but the way that he's almost being fatherly with Gregg by teaching him about this is what the food in prison is going to be like, this is what I have learned, and now I'm passing the information on to you. When you think about the fact that he's also being denied the right to be a father from Shiv, it's kind of sweet that he's taking Gregg on as his surrogate son, especially since they've had such a twisted relationship with how weirdly perverted and cruel Tom has been to Gregg in the past. Do you think that he's trying to sort of admonish his sins by saying yes to Gregg, I will prevent you from going to jail, my son?
No,
or do you think he's lying?
I think given the next scene, the later scene with Kendall, I think it's quite clear that Tom in this episode is almost like he's been castrated. He's so empty of hope and any thoughts for his future other than this prison stint. He's almost become obsessed about it.
Yeah.
He has given up. And so later, I think when we get to that, I think that it's clear that he can see, oh, maybe it doesn't have to be all on me. But at this point, he is like, well, fuck it, I'm ruined anyway. I might as well.
But also, so have we got to the scene where Kendall is in the
That's
diner?
the next scene.
Yeah.
No, that's not that. That's later. So first of all, we have Kendall in the trial thing in that room. I didn't expect it to be like that, but it basically goes badly.
Yes.
And then as they leave the room, Lisa and Kendall, Lisa tries to say, well, I guess that went fine. And
Kendall says, no, that went super bad. She kind of breathes a sigh of relief. Okay, at least he knows. But she says to him firmly, let's have a meeting about this somewhere
later,
else.
because you can see them coming out the office. They're right there. Kendall sees them and then kicks his toys out the pram and starts
talking about
shouting
about how his dad's going to get away with everything, that the DOJ are too scared to actually do anything, and he is like such a surly little kid.
And then he looks back and he's like, that will
they go around a corner.
Yeah, but then he looks at Lisa and says, that will teach them, or that will shock them or something.
And she looks at him as if to say, you fucking idiot. You really think that something as juvenile as that is going to do anything, like you know something?
Well, no, I also thought it was her looking at him with, are you serious that you think you can play the system like this? That kind of behaviour can work. That's not playing by the rule book.
Exactly.
And then they hang back on her as he turns the corner, and you have this moment of stillness with Lisa, and she realises he's fucking gone.
Yeah.
He's power hungry and he's gone. And
because we were talking about the effectiveness this season, we've noticed, of having these like close-up stills on the women's faces,
the minor characters.
Yeah, the women that are sort of dotted around this story,
like Sherry.
Yeah,
Kerry.
exactly. Karen. Sherry,
There's
Karen.
just like little,
like Jess, you know.
They're like 5 seconds long, but you just hold on this silence of one of the minor characters, and you see their faces and their reaction. It's just lovely to have a little insight into
the disappointment as they're looking at these fucking stupid little boys.
or stupid men, stupid fucking men. I love men.
We love men. We love men on this
But yeah,
podcast.
in the men in this, the men in Succession aren't great, are they? None of them really.
Well,
And nor are the women, but.
Well, no, Shiv is basically the only woman that's really kind of given the same treatment and attention as the men. Maybe Jerry, you could argue too. But even Jerry, once she starts to get a little bit more powerful, seems to be less of a sort of solid character. But I would say Shiv, because she gets as much screen time as the men, you really see the way that the power has infected her brain too.
Yeah, because actually, I remember when I first started watching it, and the note from everybody was, how can I watch this? I hate all of the characters. And I think because we've watched it for so long now, I've just got used to them. But it's true. There are no redeeming, truly good characters in Succession. They're all quite ugly.
Yeah. Well, they're all just thinking of themselves.
Yeah.
It's like just watching a case study in what do human beings do when they are so determined to survive, but only really, really care about themselves.
Yeah.
And
I guess
they
it's
care about
such
other people.
emergency stakes at the moment that there is no time for goodness, really. There's no time for like little bits of relief and joy. It's all fucking serious stuff. Anyway, so yeah, we have the next scene after this Kendall little outbreak. We have again Kerry and Logan laughing as they're walking down, and then the little feeble vice president pops out and tries to do a, I really want to talk to you about tech, and Logan is really dismissive of him, rude, got his chest puffed out like, yeah, all right, I'll talk to you.
And then says really, really loudly, so audibly that the vice president can hear it, as he's walking away, he must have been waiting here for me for like 10 minutes or something like that.
So horrible.
So dismissive.
But also there's this running thing of them making up this rumour that the previous president has a dartboard with his face on.
No.
Who's that?
The previous press secretary or somebody that's in the administration, or was it the DOJ?
Because they're trying to build a rumour.
Yeah.
And Hugo or something was like, it could be a dartboard, it could be it could be anything you want really. So they're really, so he says that to the vice president to again start that. He's always working. He's always thinking about how can I build.
And then the vice president cleverly picks up on that and says, I think that's just a rumor, i.e. I'm calling you out on your bullshit. I know that you guys started that. And then Carrie, clearly with the strength of knowing that I've got this man by the balls anyway, she says, well, even if it is just a rumor, that still says something, doesn't it? She's so firmly on Logan's side.
So she's got like these 3 lines in this episode that are so important.
Who is this bitch? Do you know what I mean?
But they're just there to show this woman has got her claws in, and she's been given the keys to the castle.
When she said that line, it did make me think about, obviously I realised that this is all a fictional story, but it was like, I wonder how you would get that job. How could you end up being Logan Roy or somebody similar's assistant? Because you must be incredibly intelligent. She's probably a really qualified person.
Well, I think this is sowing the seed for later. I think she's going to be a bigger part now.
I think so too. Because
I think she's quite good, actually.
She is. Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's good. Sexy French lady. We like her.
And then the amazing next scene with Kendall. He comes in to his people and he's fired Lisa. He says she's a toxic person.
Yeah.
And they are all visibly shocked, like, oh no, he's a psychopath. He's just fired a good person.
Yeah. Exactly, because she didn't do exactly what he wanted her to do.
Yeah.
Because his case is not that good, and he just can't accept that he is not going to be the winner that is standing victorious at the end of this.
And then he jumps onto, so guys, my big 4-0, like what's going to happen at my party? It's just so humiliating.
It's so pathetic.
But then who does he say, no, keep calling to Jess?
I think he was talking about Logan, because she says all of the numbers that we have tried, he's blocked.
Fascinating, isn't it?
It is really, really fascinating.
So he still wants to get a call from his daddy. He still wants to speak to his daddy. But yeah, I just written here how powerful men treat minor women.
Oh, that's some serious stuff, Jessie.
Powerful, isn't it? Then back at the party, and Greg's talking to some random people about suing Greenpeace.
And then Shiv talks to the other candidate. So if there are sort of
who I thought was really sexy.
I wrote yeah, exactly, Salgado. I wrote Shiv and the Sexy Republican.
Yeah, they're gonna have a little thing.
They're gonna bang for sure. They're gonna bang. In fact, he even almost suggested that they had previously banged.
Yeah, and she definitely touched him.
She said, "Oh, you're being a little bit forward."
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Shiv's already lining up her next man because
he says we can mold.
Yes. Oh, there was definite suggestive imagery there. So they either had previously been involved, which I doubt, or they will be at some point in the future. But Salgado is sort of, he's the most liberal option out of the 3 men. So he's not the sort of the lame vice president. He's not the sexy little naughty Roman Menken guy. He's the sort of the most left-leaning, most logical choice.
Who wants a diverse dialogue. He would be the best option, basically.
Absolutely.
And the most fair, good next candidate.
But you just know, just from taking one look at him, that Logan is not going to go for that.
No, and he then says, I've got a proposal. I'll make you CEO and I'll send your dad up the river.
To jail. He suggests that he's going to send Logan to jail, and Shiv is sort of giggling along with it. Yes. I was really surprised. I was like, Shiv, where the fuck are your loyalties? You don't give a shit about your husband. You clearly don't give a shit about your dad.
No, but it's all performance, because she's intrigued by the idea. She has that part of her that thinks, yeah, that's what should happen. I should be CEO. He should go to jail. This should be the next president. Let's do this.
Yeah, but in a way, you almost can, everything about her character, all of the reasons why she has fucked up so far have been because she hasn't shown strong loyalty to anyone.
Yeah.
She was a political consultant, then she wasn't. She was married, but she wanted it to be an open relationship. She wants to be with Logan, but she also was flirting with the idea of going off with Kendall. And with this guy, she's joking about sending her dad to jail. Whereas Roman, who in this episode at least, he's picked the right candidate. Yeah. At least he's always been loyal to Waystar and to his father.
He's at the end of the day, he's always going to defend his dad. And actually that pays off in this episode for Roman. But then we go back to Greg and Tom at the party, and they're talking to a person about prison, and I thought this was just so funny, this dialogue with the guy saying, right, you got to treat your toilet as your friend, your lover, and your priest. And they're like, oh, my toilet seat is a priest?
I didn't understand. So what was so special about
the toilet? It's a really lovely, detailed description of a prison cell and how things become important. So your toilet seat is not just there. It's don't just think of it as a toilet. That's your main thing in the room.
Exactly. Probably also because I think that in prison, maybe the toilet can be used for various different things. Because I remember watching something where they use the toilet as like a phone, because the toilets connect to the different cells.
And you can send things up it.
Yeah. So basically, it was really sweet to see in this really grand, opulent environment, these scared little boys talking about their grimy future.
And trying to work out the kind of language of what this guy was saying or not saying. So then he ends it with like, no, your toilet seat can be a bastard. And they just don't understand.
Yeah. Oh, it just breaks your heart, doesn't it?
And then he says to Greg, take notes. Oh, sorry about my voice and my cough. Do I sound really sexy?
You do sound really sexy. You do sound really, I don't have COVID. Okay, then we're in the bedroom. And Logan is talking with the kids about, okay, we need to make a choice now. Who is going to be the next president? And it feels like a bit of a boys' club, doesn't it?
No, but isn't there like a minor thing with Connor here where he's talking to some really weird guy who is dotted in and says something like, a sword has been pulled from the stone, my liege.
Oh, yeah. Connor's consultant.
Oh,
guy,
right, yeah.
His, like, dumbass political consultant that he's hired to sort of follow him around and be his yes man is sort of implying that Connor is in there, you know, with some sort of potential chance. Because there's one guy at this event that is a big fan of Connor's or something like that. But anyway, Logan is in the bedroom with the kids and they are basically making up their mind about who they are going to back. Shiv decides to stab... the sexy Republican guy, Salgado, in the back and says, we shouldn't go with any of these guys. We should go Democrat. We should change our mind. We should go to the other lane. And, excuse me. Excuse me, I'm just so passionate. Roman voices here. I think at first they described that they should probably go for the vice president. That's the safest option. But nobody seems really fucking keen on that because he is a bit of a loser.
He'd be like a pudding cup at 5 p.m. and no. Mendel says that about Logan. He's like a pudding cup at 5 p.m. in a nursing home.
Oh, yeah, because of course, before we get to the bedroom, God, we are so scatty with our timeline.
No, but I did this, I've written exactly, so I promise I've got this. Yeah, this is still at the party.
Before we get to the bedroom, there's a scene where Menkel, sexy little naughty boy.
He's not little. He's
tall. But in my mind, he comes across as a sexy little sprightly guy. So sexy little Menkel and
he's basically got an audience.
Vice President and Salgado. They're all having a little chat. Shiv is there. Roman's there. Logan is sitting at the table. He can hear
everything.
He can hear everything.
All is.
And they're having a discussion about like this funny little race that they're in. It's very much a boys' club. And then, you know, Roman's guy starts slagging off Logan.
He says he's utterly irrelevant, no longer relevant, and you close on Logan. And it's just so unbelievable that in the end, what happens, given that this guy has just verbally abused him, humiliated him in public.
Yeah,
it's
but Shiv also, she's being quite bold in this scene. She says, no, sorry, I'm bored of this. I'm bored of this kind of like YouTube conspiracy theorist, like you're an aristopopulist. Like she's basically calling out this guy for being somebody that like feeds on mass hysteria and like... They talk about the fact, I think the vice president says, you know, we're the party of the lower class of like the working man. And Shiv, because she does actually know about this shit, she's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
And then he rather fucking meanly says, have you read Plato?
Yeah. And she's like, no, I don't give a shit about that.
She says, yeah, I have. And then he says, oh, really? Have you? And it's just such a stupid thing to say. It just kind of, again, is trying to make a woman feel small in this boys' club.
Yeah. But... the person that comes out victorious in this slightly messy sort of... It's not really a fight, but it's quite clearly like a dick swinging contest about who they think is like the person that could actually fucking take this job. Logan is sort of sitting there listening to this guy slag him off and saying that he's now irrelevant, but with like a little smile on his face, like, I respect this fucker, you know?
I don't think so. I think it was I'm deeply wounded by this.
Really?
And the only way to recover is to make him the next president so that I can keep him close.
In the loop with him. Okay, that's interesting. I like that interpretation, actually.
So then we have again Shiv and Roman talking about the wedding, and they then go into this upstairs room and they basically choose.
Yes.
They choose, and Connor
keeps throwing his hat in.
Connor opens it by being like, well, I like Connor Roy.
He really does come across like he has the intelligence of a 5-year-old in this scene.
And then
It's so
Carrie
sweet.
then Connor, Logan says, what do you think? And Carrie pipes
You
up.
need to call her by one name. You need to call her by one name.
Carrie pipes
Carrie.
up.
It's Carrie.
It's not Carrie.
It is Carrie.
Carrie. It's Carrie. I bet you money it's Carrie.
I bet you money it's Carrie.
Carrie pipes up and Shiv is shocked and says, I'm sorry, this is crazy. We shouldn't be going with whoever you think.
We should be reaching across the aisle, going Democrat.
Menken, and also what I thought was fascinating is Shiv makes the point, after we have the scene earlier with Tom and the cake batter reference, Shiv is like, this guy who everyone is trying to back now because of Roman, Menken, the one who's just said that Logan is irrelevant, he's against abortions. And I thought that was really, important for Shiv to have in there, because so much of her story is her being kind of lessened and her role always sabotaged by one of her male brothers, male brothers.
Yeah.
But
Thank God it was one of her female brothers.
But you know what I mean? Like, so her really trying to put up a fight for somebody who's not going to, again, do something that's going to take rights away from women, I think is interesting.
Exactly. Like, at least Shiv in that moment is showing something that she believes in that's
And
not
then
just money and power.
Logan asked Tom.
Yeah.
Dismisses Shiv, saying, he's against abortions, he's against all this. Tom, what do you think?
Yeah. As if,
silencing her.
Exactly. Yeah, that was really, really interesting in the way that you see power literally passing between male hands in this episode. Yeah. So Logan then calls up the vice president, doesn't he, to invite him to have a little chat.
But that's after. That's after. First of all, Tom slips away because Kendall is calling him.
Oh yeah. And they go back to the sad little diner.
Yeah. And
Kendall essentially proposes to Tom that he doesn't have to go to prison if he backs Kendall and betrays Logan.
Yeah, but first of all, Shiv's like trying to get some power back once Tom's left, and says something like, Roman, why don't you tell Dad about Mum? And then Roman has to be like, well, Mum's getting married again. And then he gets quite angry about the choice because this guy's been hanging around for 40 years. And then again does a weird, goofy thing being like, oh, la-di-da. And then we go to the scene with the diner where Tom orders again another breakfast.
And Kendall just says, I'll just watch
because it's so gross.
Yeah, but in a way, I thought it was like kind of beautiful because Kendall's saying, I'm a rich kid. There's no way I would even fucking drink a glass of water in here. And Tom is saying, this is my future. Like, I don't care that this is grimy. I know that that we're above this. But then when he talks about, Kendall kind of says, well, I know that you have done a really good job in this family. You've risen up through the ranks. You're not from this world. And here you are. And then Tom says so bluntly, in a way that made me really believe him. He says, I fell in love with your sister. That's what happened.
And Kendall sort of dismisses that.
Exactly. Kendall thinks that Tom is like, only got there for power, that he's been as power hungry. Therefore, you're going to want to take me up on my deal. And but Tom's sort of looking at him in the eyes as if to say, no, I fell in love with Shiv. I truly believed him in that moment.
Yeah, so did I. But before that, Kendall says, when they're talking about food and stuff, Tom says, they used to prepare themselves by drinking a little bit, build up their tolerance by drinking a tiny bit of arsenic every day. And then there's this moment where Kendall says, you know what they call you? They're calling you the Christmas tree because everyone's loading the blame onto him because he's tall and jolly. And Kendall hints something like, there's another way. There's another way. And Tom tragically again says, I try not to tarry too much with the idea of hope. So nice.
It seems like Tom is potentially considering Kendall's offer because this episode he has been really brutalised by the prospect of prison, by Shiv's lack of care, seemingly that he's going.
So he's trying
and by Gregg already now saying, I'm going to make it even fucking worse for you because you don't have to carry on my burden. So it really does seem like potentially Kendall is offering something really useful. Kendall's lying by saying that he now has the perfect kick-ass legal team, but I think secretly we all know that he probably doesn't.
And then after, amazingly, Tom puts Kendall in his place by being like, I've seen you get fucked quite a lot of times by a lot of people, but I've never seen Logan get fucked.
Exactly.
And then Kendall, like this sneaky little boy who's bullied at school and then becomes the bully, gets out his phone as Tom's getting into a car to take a weird photo of him.
Well, basically just to record his presence there at this meeting as if to say, I know you've just rejected me, but you're not going to get away with this.
Yeah.
And Tom, in kind of like quite a majestic, powerful way, just gets in the car and leaves.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see what comes.
Line.
What line?
Mate, the best line of the episode.
What?
He goes, "We're here, but in that room over there, they're deciding the next president."
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He says, "We're here in a diner or whatever, but
Do you know what they're doing?
They're picking the next president of the United States, i.e., you're not the one with the fucking power here, mate."
And then we go back to the room, and Roman is being horrible to Shiv by like, we all supported your little DC lemonade stand, but this is different. And Logan rings up the vice president and then plays with him
And says, "Could you
bullies
bring me a Coke?"
run me up a Coke, could you? Oh, and also, could you fire the Department Attorney General? Yeah, and then there's this moment where, weirdly, Logan truly believes that he says something like, "No, actually, I think I could back Connor. Could anyone here back Connor? Could you back Connor? Could you back?" And then he asks Gregg, and Gregg is now going, because Gregg's got to go and get the vice president or something. He's like, "Please don't make Connor vice president."
He says, "I feel like it's my duty as an American to say this. You shouldn't make Connor vice president." That was like a really interesting note for them to have included, because it's quite obvious that Logan doesn't truly believe that Connor is an option, but he's almost saying that just to show his level of power. If I really wanted to, I could fucking make my son president.
He's almost gone crazy again with that power, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So he's being unrealistic.
Yeah.
But I think, how you said that Gregg's been kind of weak and stuff, and his storyline is up and down.
Yeah.
But I think that's reflective of young men in general, and especially in the situation when everything is so extreme. Like, Gregg saying that as he leaves is just, he's really feeling it as it happens, all of this stuff. He's just really expressing, this is weird. Like, I might sue my grandma, like Greenpeace, like my inheritance is going to take, everything is just
You might go to prison. Like, this is probably the first time in his life that he's felt truly alive and like thinking about what he wants. I mean, obviously in the next time that we see Gregg, he's being like lifted up and down
so Tom comes back.
Yeah.
Gregg's been lifted up by these random men.
These
it's weird.
far right people who, when they find out that Gregg is potentially going to sue Greenpeace, are really fucking happy about it.
Oh, right, yeah. And then we have the best scene with Roman.
The weirdest scene, though. The weirdest scene in Succession, I think, so far. I couldn't quite wrap my head around this scene. So you've got Roman and his choice for presidential candidate, sexy little Menken.
So Roman slipped away.
Roman slipped away. He's sort of preparing Menken for his meeting with Logan. But in a way, Menken has taken full control. They're wearing sexy little matching outfits.
At one point, Menken sits down on the toilet, and I'm like, is he shitting? You just see his knees. Is he doing a wee sitting down in front of Roman?
What was going on with the sexual tension in the scene?
Roman
was so convinced that they were going to kiss.
Sits up on the sink and is like splaying his legs open.
And Roman keeps looking at him like, you can tell that a cat trusts you when they look at you and they blink. Roman was doing that. He was looking at him and he was blinking with his big old bobbly eyes.
And he just seemed really excited.
There was something so sensual. Maybe it's because Roman was seeing in this guy, wow, this is what I could do if I wasn't attached to my family. I'm as smart and I'm as devious and I'm as kind of fucking clever as this guy. Maybe this is my way. This is my future.
But he tries to say to him, what's the deal with fascism? Your fascism
thing.
Because
it isn't actually cool, is it?
Yeah. And then the guy, Menken, says such a great line, people trust people who look like them.
Yes.
And Roman really believes that, and he's taken in and thinks, okay, I can back this guy.
What was Menken actually saying?
But they keep also having language like push in, pull out.
Oh yeah, it was sexy.
It was all suggestive.
Oh, it was very, very suggestive. I guess it's because it's all about power, and sex is all about power. So I know that they're trying to just imply, sexy power.
And then Menken asks Roman, so where are you in all this? What are you? And Roman very sweetly says, I'm creeping on the come up. And you just,
Maybe, Menken is supposed to remind us of what Logan would have been like when he was younger.
Yeah.
And Roman is obviously, so he gravitates towards men with power like that. So it's almost like he's going for Logan 2.0 by attaching himself to this guy and presenting him to his father.
Yeah, he says that it would be like bone broth and dick pills. I thought that was great. I don't know what that's about.
I mean, I've made so few notes about this scene because I didn't have a fucking clue what was going on.
Horatio, but then, as they were walking out, they look like they've just done something naughty.
Yeah,
they just look like they were pulling up, they were adjusting their clothes. Yeah. But then, what was interesting is that he must have said to Menken, give my dad a Coke. That will really impress him.
Exactly.
Because then he very impressively grabs a Coke open. And it's a back shot, so we just see Menken walking in. It's like a subtle, it's like the camera work letting us know that a secret has been revealed to each other or whatever. And then he gives it to Logan, and Menken says is,
I heard that you wanted one of these.
Yeah, and Logan says, oh, I'm anointing with a Coke. It's so weird.
It's so powerful.
And played down.
Exactly, and it's such a simple action of masculinity.
And then he leaves.
And he just fucking
says
leaves.
He's box office dynamite.
Yes, exactly. And Roman has won and Shiv has lost.
And Shiv is like, but he doesn't even believe in like something about the climate. And then
Logan says,
oh my God, Logan gets up and says, well, I guess then I'm a climate denier. I ruined that. Denier. We talked about diners too much.
Oh my goodness.
And then and then Connor just looks so defeated, like, oh, I haven't been chosen because Menken has been chosen. And then he says to Shiv, oh my God, it's so great. He says to Shiv, yeah, you're right, they're definitely fucking. To close it.
Exactly, as in, this is another thing that you were wrong about.
Yeah. Oh my God. It always comes back to domestic stuff.
Yeah.
So whenever we're talking about even who's going to be the next president, it comes back to little things like a Coke or the mum getting married.
Exactly.
Or, yeah, you were right, they are fucking.
Exactly. They're able to just mix the high and the low so well. They can be dealing with something as fucking huge as picking the next president of the United States, but they're also, in the same breath, squabbling about who is right about if the woman is giving their dad a blowjob.
Exactly. Or, Kendall can fire the lawyer and then be talking about his 40th birthday party and if he's going to have a clown.
Exactly.
It all comes back to tiny little details that just make such an intense show.
Exactly. Because the fact is, these people have lived their whole lives in the spotlight, in the most powerful family in America. And so something as trivial as a birthday party is basically on the same level as them to picking the next fucking president of the United States. And that's why they're all so twisted, because they've never had a sense of perspective or what their power really, really means.
Yeah.
It's all just been toys to them. And their father has given them access to this world. And it's his fault that his kids are all so fucked up,
then in the morning we have Gregg and Tom at breakfast again talking about Tom, I saw you being lifted up by all those guys and flying on the wings of white power. And Kerry and Logan walk in, obviously after a night of intense sex. And Shiv gets shouted at like she's a fucking little girl by Logan. Shiv, get in the photo with Menken.
Oh, yeah.
And Shiv's face, oh my God, her face was just amazing, wasn't it?
She really, really tried to hold her ground. She tried to have some sort of a principle there. And then it just comes to such a lame compromise, which is, I'll be in the photo, but I won't be standing by him.
Because basically Logan says to her, if you're not in this photo,
you
are not playing ball and you're out. And so she has to get in. She's like, I'm going to get in, but I'm not going to stand next to him. And then we close on Menken seeing Shiv storm away after the photo, after doing everyone is doing awkward smiles, and even Tom doing a really awkward smile right next to Logan, happy family, and Menken looks at Logan, looking at Shiv walk off, and I think that's really important. I think they're trying to say, right, this guy is going to be huge in this series, and he knows the loose nut.
That's a well-known phrase, isn't it?
When there's a loose screw? Is that a loose screw?
I think it's more likely to be screw than nut. I would say that. Yeah.
A loose nut bolt screw thing is Shiv, and I think they're going to play that up. They're going to build some kind of thing with Shiv and Menken. I think we've got all the names wrong.
I think that we not only mixed up every single scene's order.
No, I've got it down. I did not let us go astray. That was a fucking long episode. I'm sorry, everyone.
It definitely. Do you know what? That fumbled around with my brain a little bit, that episode, but I think that that's sort of the point. You're supposed to feel confused and power is constantly exchanging hands, and
it's just so depressing. They in my notebook, which is meant to be for all my ideas.
Yeah.
The majority of this notebook now is just detailed notes of Succession.
I know, and we just talk about the lines that they all said and how much we love them. But I think that that's what's so fantastic about this show. Dissecting it is half of the fucking fun.
I know, but what am I gonna do with all of these other people's work? I've been so obsessed with it. It's just wrong how much I've got into it.
Yeah, but the thing is, I feel like lots of people feel that way. Yes, it's a concentrated community, but we're here. And we're here to talk about it.
And it's quite lovely to really embrace a show which is just such high quality, because so much stuff. Our standards, I think, as an audience have become so low because of lockdown and anything. We'll devour anything. I rewatched a bit of. Well, I watched the the first episode of the new series of Tiger King. And I remember when I watched the first series, it was during lockdown, and I was watching the second series, which has obviously just been done because it was such a huge success during lockdown, and people just want to like digest any shit just to kind of kill their cells while they're just stuck in a home. Yeah, I just feel like Succession coming back has been a reawakening of our brains and how good TV can be.
Yeah, but I would also say that recently I can't watch TV. Genuinely, I find it so difficult. I was talking about this with Horatio. Every single show that I choose to watch, it's so predictable.
Yeah.
It's so, not that it's badly acted, but I just feel like there's something, maybe it's because in lockdown we all became too dependent on TV, so now I feel like I've seen everything. But even the new shows that are coming out that people are like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm just so bored by everything. Succession is truly the only show that still surprises me, that still challenges me.
Yeah.
And that's why I love it so much, because it's like I've come to fucking need it.
I know.
Because nothing else ticks my boxes.
No, and also when you do predict something is going to happen in Succession, you feel like you've just done a really hard crossword.
Oh my God, yeah, you feel like your brain has had a workout.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of us for knowing that Carrie
Who's
was going to fuck him.
Cherry.
What we need to do is we need to get a fucking piece of paper with all of the characters' names on
I
them.
mean, that would have been the first thing to do when you're going to do a specific podcast. We should have printed out
and
a cast
instead
list.
we're like, who's that actor that plays him? Let's just call him fucking Sexy Joe.
Right, that was like 65 minutes of talking about Succession.
Great. Okay, thank you all so much for listening.
If you want to listen to our normal podcast, you can subscribe to our Patreon. We didn't rehearse that.
I know,
so
that was really
good.
nice. Good for us.
Yeah. So thank you. Patreon.com/CaveSisters. Or do you know my YouTube handle? Our YouTube handle now is still youtube.com/user/Pindippy.
No.
Yeah.
Wow. That's hot.
So yeah, Pindippy. Go for it.
Thank you all so much for watching. See you next week. Bye.